The two key phrases of the management by objective systems are the objectives and the key result.
If you're like me, you have a number of ambitious ideas about where you want to be in life. It's one thing to be directionally correct, but to maximize your efforts, you need to get clear and specific about where you ultimately want to be. Today, I'm going to introduce a framework known as objectives and key results that will help you do just that. OKRs are a widely used goal-setting system that can be used both personally and professionally. By setting and tracking OKRs, organizations and individuals can ensure they're working on the right things and quickly identify areas of improvement. The OKR system involves 4 parts. The first is setting clear, ambitious outcomes, known as objectives. The second involves defining specific, measurable milestones, known as key results. Once those objectives and key results are defined, you'll run regular review cadences mid-cycle to measure progress. And then, at the end of the cycle, you'll run post-mortem and planning sessions for the next cycle. Key proponents of OKRs include leaders at Intel, Google, and One, an organization founded by U2's Bono to end poverty and preventable disease. A few people I know use OKRs for their personal goal setting, and I believe OKRs are a powerful framework that can be used in place of something like the more simplistic New Year's resolutions. In this video, we'll explore the specifics, some benefits, and some examples of OKRs. I'll walk you through my free Notion template that will help you create your own OKRs, whether they're personal or professional. And finally, I'll walk you through what it takes to run weekly and quarterly review sessions to make sure you're staying on track. So let's dive right in. OKRs were developed by Andy Grove at Intel and later expanded upon by John Doerr, who applied the concepts at Google and then wrote the book Measure What Matters. The practices are widely used by tech companies today, and OKRs are now expanding to other industries as well. The idea behind OKRs is to set ambitious goals that are aligned with the overall vision and mission of the organization, then to measure outcomes using a set of specific and measurable key results. Laid out more specifically, OKRs consist of 2 key parts. The first is objectives. These are high-level goals that the organization wants to achieve. They should be challenging and inspiring, but also realistic and achievable. And the second is key results. These are specific, measurable targets that the organization needs to hit in order to achieve its objectives. Key results should be quantifiable and objective so that progress can be tracked and measured accurately. Thousands of organizations have adapted OKRs because they enable visibility and accountability. By broadcasting OKRs on public-facing dashboards and reviewing them on a weekly basis, teams ensure accountability. For anyone, especially managers adopting OKRs, they enable buy-in from leadership, team empowerment, product intuition, and focus on the most impactful activities. Of course, the true test of OKRs lies in whether they're actually successful in generating outcomes. Here are just a few examples of the power of OKRs. Google used aggressive monthly active user key results to achieve their objective of building the best web browser. Google Chrome surpassed 100 million users within 3 years. Today, it's the most popular web browser by a wide margin. Allbirds, the footwear and apparel company, has an ongoing objective for all products to remain carbon neutral. As they develop new product lines and associated supply chains, key results enable innovation while tracking carbon emissions, ensuring the core objective is upheld. The city of Syracuse, New York, set OKRs related to fiscal sustainability, economic investment, and delivery of city services. In an act of vulnerability, the city put the objectives and up-to-date metrics on a publicly accessible web dashboard. As a result, the city made drastic improvements in most of the objectives, including reducing their budget variance from 11% down to 2%.
The objective is the direction. We want to dominate the mid-range microcomputer component business. That's an objective. That's where we want to go. Key results for this quarter win 10 new designs for the 8085. It's one key result. It's a milestone.
That was Andy Grove giving just one example of an OKR that Intel ended up dominating. Here are a few other examples that can be applied for personal or business use. Personal fitness. The objective is to compete in the Boston Marathon next year. The key results for just one quarter leading up to the Boston Marathon include strength training, practicing outdoor runs, finding a performance running group, and finishing a 10K race in a certain time. For a mobile app example, the objective is to reduce screen time and addiction concerns without impacting the company's bottom line. And the key results are to launch and A/B test a new feature and then measure the performance of that new feature versus the baseline. And finally, for a semiconductor manufacturing example, the objective is to scale the 3nm process to new smartphones. So to make this new process become the dominant process in smartphones. And the key results are to negotiate and win contracts with the smartphone manufacturers, as well as make improvements to the production so that when it comes time to launch those phones, the production process will be ready. In this section, I'm going to walk you through creating your own OKRs. I've created a free Notion template to guide you through the process, and you can find that Notion template in the description of this video. Once you've clicked on the link, just open the template and then hit duplicate at the top right of the template, log into Notion or create an account, and at that point you'll be able to follow along. For personal OKRs, this exercise is totally fine to do individually, although you can elect to display your completed OKRs publicly for accountability, such as on your personal website. For organizations, it's best to do this as a group exercise. OKRs shouldn't just be handed down from management. Get the frontline team involved in brainstorming as they'll be more bought in. Be sure to get buy-in from company leadership and cross-functional teams, or align your OKRs to pre-existing company goals. Ideally, OKR creation should happen in the weeks leading up to a new cycle. However, if the cycle has already started, it's not too late to apply the OKR framework to get more specific about your goals. Just be sure to establish a more consistent review cadence going forward. The first step of creating your OKRs is defining your why. Most OKR guides actually skip this crucial step of defining your main values. And the problem with starting directly with objectives is that it's too easy to dive into specific financial and user acquisition goals without starting with why. Understanding and communicating your purpose first leads to team alignment, achievement of key results, and ultimately success in meeting your objectives. Worse, there are examples of businesses that have hit their OKRs quite well, but ultimately failed as businesses because they were focused on the wrong strategy, such as misunderstanding their target market. When you're entering a new market or launching a new product, setting OKRs purely positioned around output is going to be a recipe for disaster. Instead, for new markets and new products, you need to be realistic about where you are as a company, focusing your efforts on proving or disproving critical market hypotheses before you scale. In the Notion template, I've provided some questions you can use to develop your own why. What you can do is take my examples here and overwrite them or delete them and use this section to brainstorm. And while you're thinking about these questions, I'm going to give you some examples of my own why. A personal why I have, what I'm doing right now, is teaching others to develop, launch, and scale physical and digital products. So setting OKRs is one part of launching and scaling products. Other whys that I have defined for my business, Restful, include to give people a better night of sleep without drugs, and to increase people's health span through quality sleep technologies. The next section is defining inspiring objectives. Now that you've defined your why, it's time to start thinking about what you want to accomplish. Whether it's personal or professional, most people decide to go forward with between 2 and 4 objectives. Strong objectives are going to be aggressive yet realistic, action-oriented and inspiring, concrete and unambiguous, and concise and tangible. So, not incremental and very specific, action-oriented. I'm showing on screen some examples of strong OKRs, and these could be anything from establishing a certain brand as a market leader in a specific industry area, to personal goals such as positioning yourself as an industry expert. Also, if you're an early stage company, you might want to think about just understanding buyer personas, pain points, doing user research, or launching MVPs and getting those initial metrics in place. We can use the Notion template to define our objectives. So expand the define objectives section. And I've given you some questions you can consider to set your own objectives. You'll want to either edit these fields in the database or delete these rows and add new fields as you go to add your own individual objectives. That way it's personalized to your needs. And be sure to change the status from brainstorming to finalized as you move forward to the next section. Again, if you're part of an organization, you should brainstorm with your direct team and align with leadership and cross-functional stakeholders before committing to objectives. And objectives may last more than one cycle. For example, you might have an objective such as running a marathon next year, and there are multiple quarters between now and that marathon. So you will set one objective, and then you will set each quarter the individual key results leading up to that objective. We're going to get into key results in the next section. The next step is defining measurable key results. Now that you've formalized your what or your objectives, it's time to get specific about your how. Typically, key results are numerical expressions of success or progress. Most people define between 2 and 4 key results per objective. Strong key results are measurable milestones that advance the objective. They're verifiable, they're specific and time-bound, and they're outcomes, not activities. You should set your key results so that they're ambitious but achievable within the cycle. So if you're running a quarterly cycle, you should be able to achieve those results within that cycle with a bit of stretching, but something that's not impossible. This is a good time to decide which results are committed and which ones are aspirational. Committed results are those that are realistic and achievable within the given cycle, or those that you expect you will complete with 100% completion. Aspirational key results are those that are ambitious and stretch the team or yourself. They may or may not be achievable depending on the resources available. You can expect to achieve less than 100% within the quarter and still be very satisfied with a lower number, like 70%. A litmus test for a good key result is the question, did I achieve that? The answer should be a simple yes or no. On screen, I have some examples of key results. If you include an output key result, such as launching a product or launching a feature, be sure to add additional outcome key results to quantify the success, such as sales or engagement metrics. You can use the OKR template to start planning your key results. Expand the define key results section, and then use the questions that I've outlined here to help you define your how. Then once you're ready to start planning, you can write your key results in the first column, and then click the second column to link them to an objective. You'll want to plan the timelines and whether the key results are aspirational or committed, and then also set what your initial and target values are for each key result. So for example, if you were going to publish one video per week, there would be 13 weeks in the quarter, so your initial value would be 0 and your target value would be 13. Once you have finalized those key results, either yourself or with your team, change the status from brainstorming to finalized, and then you'll be ready to move on. Now that you've defined your OKRs, you'll want to understand best practices around measurement. Success in achieving objectives is often qualitative, while measuring key results is quantitative. Traditionally, key results have been graded from 0.0 or no achievement to 1.0 or full achievement. As an example, let's say we have a key result to increase our monthly active users from 10,000 users to 20,000 users. 10,000 is the baseline, 20,000 is the target. During our review, if we're currently at 15,000 users, or halfway between the baseline and the target, the key result score should be 0.5. There are 2 time intervals relevant to OKR reviews: mid-cycle, usually weekly, and end of cycle, usually quarterly. During weekly reviews, key result metrics are updated so everyone can get a feel for the progress or lack thereof. During quarterly reviews, the success of each OKR is evaluated, and new or updated OKRs are planned for the next quarter. A key component of ensuring success is making your OKRs highly visible. At a minimum, teams should display and update key results during weekly review meetings. Many companies also choose to keep OKR dashboards. Key result metrics can either be updated manually or via automated means such as an analytics tool. All key results for the team should be centralized into a single dashboard, and time should be allotted to discuss progress toward each key result at every weekly recurring meeting. If new information emerges during the quarter that did not exist during the drafting process, it's generally acceptable to reprioritize and modify the key results. If you're going to do this, you should revise and socialize the OKRs in a similar manner to the original planning phase, not just update them without telling anyone. The Notion template I provided contains fields to track the progress toward each key result. Simply click the Track OKRs throughout the cycle section, and you can edit the key results in the bottom section. So how you would do this, say you wanted to increment this key result, you would go over to the right and you would edit the current value field. After that, the progress field on the left would update automatically, and so would the calculation for the stoplight. At the end of each cycle, teams should conduct a full review of the OKRs. This can be broken down into 3 major parts: post-mortem, existing OKR update, and next quarter planning. In the Notion template that I provided, there is a conduct an OKR post-mortem section, and here you can use the fields provided to reflect on each objective and key results, figuring out what worked, what didn't work, and how you would change things going forward. During the post-mortem meeting, the scores for each key result are evaluated. Some companies will use a traffic light system with different scoring thresholds for committed and aspirational key results. Based on the insights in the post-mortem meeting, the team reviews objectives that are ongoing and key results that have not been fully achieved. They will update and create new key results in a similar manner to the original planning process. Because it's hard to plan for the next quarter before you've run a post-mortem from the previous quarter, companies may elect to run the post-mortem process in the weeks leading up to the quarter end, effectively making the deadline for the key result a bit before the quarter end. Or perhaps more commonly, the full post-mortem and planning section may occur at the beginning of a new quarter, especially when a new year is beginning. So if you're planning your New Year's resolutions right now and it's already the new year, no big deal. It's not too late to set up your OKRs. Throughout this video, I've attempted to demonstrate the power of OKRs to get clear and specific about your goals and to constantly revisit them to ensure you're on track. I use OKRs in my personal and professional life, and I believe other ambitious people and companies should adopt them as well. In follow-up videos, I hope to dive into a few related areas, including walking through those Notion templates in more depth. I also hope to cover how early-stage companies can leverage OKRs, because there are some specifics that are not quite the same as how larger companies are leveraging OKRs. What do you think about OKRs? Have you found success in leveraging them either professionally or personally? Or were there some challenges in the implementation? I'd love to hear in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.